Welcome, everyone, to a special edition of the Signals from Mars live stream brought to you by the Mars Attacks podcast and VMR IT Web Design. Today, I am joined by the one and only Joey Vera of Armored Saint. Joey, how are you,
Hi
sir?
there. I'm good. How are you guys?
I am doing well. This is, as the intro was playing, I was thinking in my head, I think this is like the fifth or sixth time that I've gotten to speak to you over the years. And one of the coolest things is after almost every time that I've talked to you, you've always said that you've enjoyed the conversation. So I'm hoping that I can continue that streak.
Uh-oh, now the pressure's on.
Yeah, there you go. So I have a bunch of questions for you here, obviously surrounding the upcoming live release. I got to speak to John last week, so I kind of made sure that I didn't cover the same types of questions, just to give fans a reason to come back and listen to your interview as well. Great. So one of the questions that I've been asked the most since 2018 was, do you know anything about the upcoming Armored Saint live album? Because one of my listeners, who's also a patron, was at the show at the Gramercy. So Great. He's always been asking about, when's it coming out? Can you tell me anything about it? So once it became official, I made sure to send him, what information I had. The first question that I wanted to ask you is, obviously that was recorded in 2018. Punching the Sky came out last year. Did the pandemic have anything to do with the live album being delayed?
No, not at all. We have been kind of working as usual, things as, schedules as normal since pandemic started. In fact, we were kind of at the end of the process making Punching the Sky when Los Angeles closed down, but it didn't really affect us at all because we were done recording and we were entering the mixing stage with Jay Rustin. So it was just, things went as normal. And we did have a brief conversation about whether or not we should hold the release date of Punching the Sky in 20, but nobody knew. No one still knows when things are going to be back to normal. But even then, we were wondering, well, this could go on for quite a long time, or it could end in 2 weeks. We don't know. So we just said, well, let's just move on as business as usual. So that's why we just set the release date for Punching the Sky for October of 20, which ironically, now we're in 21 and it's October pretty much next week.
Yeah.
And we're releasing another record. So for us, it's just been like, let's just keep going business as usual. So it didn't really affect us in those terms. It's affected us in other ways. Obviously, we haven't been able to do any touring or any shows. So in that sense, it's affected us just like it's affecting everyone else.
Right. Okay. Could you imagine holding the songs from Punching the Sky, not releasing it up to now? Would that have driven you crazy?
Yeah, it totally would have driven us crazy. We were proud of the record and we worked hard on it. So we just wanted to get it out as soon as possible. And everyone at that point, that we're talking like spring of 20, was like going crazy already. People were starved for music. People were at home, socially distanced from everyone else. So there was no reason to hold anything back. It was like, let's just get this out there. So yeah, it would have driven me crazy just sitting on a record. It was just pointless.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Get it out there.
Obviously,
that's why we're getting this live record. That's why we're doing this now, because we could hold this too, but we're having the anniversary of the record is actually this year, so it just makes sense to get it out now.
Sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. And you obviously have produced the last few Armored Saint albums. What difference is there between producing a live album as opposed to producing a studio album?
Well, the live record is more or less just sort of a technical aspect of it. The songs have already been written, you know, and we performed it live, so it's really just a matter of cleaning up tracks and mixing the record audibly so it sounds good, you know. The producing a studio record is a completely different animal, you know. The songs have recently been written, so you're trying to bring them to life for the first time. So there's a bit more of a under the microscope, if you will, for, in regards to making a studio record. You know, it's a completely different animal.
Would you say there's less pressure on you to do a live album?
Yeah, I might agree with that. You know, I mean, like I said, this record has already been written. It was written back in the late 80s and early 90s. So that part of it, the emotional part of it, is I've already let that go. And you know, the emotional part of it in terms of today, is that we're showing the record in a completely different light. The songs, again, have already been written. They have taken on a little bit of a different life because they were played in 18 and, you know, performed in front of an audience and that kind of a thing. So that part of it was a little less pressure. The biggest pressure was really to make sure that the record as a whole, you know, shines a light on the way that the band is in a live setting. So the energy is a big part of it, and the sound of it just must be powerful, and that part of it has to come across more than any kind of like production value, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about the big picture.
Yeah, and that makes complete sense after listening to the album, and I was able to watch the screener as well. I
Cool.
get a lot of live stuff sent to me, and you listen to it, and it's like, wow, it just sounds like they did this because there was a payday involved. But I got the sense when I listened to Symbol of Salvation's live that there was an energy to it, that there was something to it that, you know, gave me goosebumps in a lot of different places where, you know, I've listened to a lot of the material on the album over the years, but, you know, like everything else, you make a playlist and there are maybe some songs that you don't listen to as often as others. And there were a lot of these like, holy shit, this song was on there. You know, this was really cool. So I get exactly what you're saying. There's definitely an energy to it that, to me, separates it from other newer live albums that have come out these last few years.
Yeah. I mean, there's also there's kind of an emotional connection to it too, because for one thing, it's the record played in its entirety, but it's also this record played in its entirety, which, you know, was a bit of a landmark record for us for various reasons, but this record is important to us, and I think that it was also important to a lot of fans. They sort of a lot of people regard this as maybe our best record ever, or it was a record that, you know, was as a culmination of our 10 years of being together as a band, and just prior to us breaking up in 91 or 92. Mm-hmm. Also was an introduction for a lot of people. A lot of people discovered Armored Saint on Symbol of Salvation. So there's a lot of crossroads kind of happening. So that, I think, comes across as well, because, you know, we're performing this in front of a live audience. So you have a different energy. It's not like we're just going out and playing kind of like a best of our whole career. Mm-hmm. That would have a different energy, you know. So there's something special about this one.
Were there any songs that you hadn't played previously that by playing them live, not that you may have been stuck, but you were like, oh, wow, this song was a little bit harder than what I remembered, you know, when you got back to playing it?
Well, there was a few songs we've never played. Let's see, Burning Question would be one. Hanging Judge, we maybe played a couple of times, but like, you know, 30 years ago.
Right.
And then there's songs like Spineless that or Another Day that we haven't played in like over 20 years.
Mhm.
Um, Tainted Past, another one we haven't played in years. So there's certainly a lot of songs that we haven't played in a very, very long time. So some of it was challenging just relearning them,
Right.
remembering guitar parts and remembering harmonies and, just all those intricacies that we tried to take from the production on the record and transform that into a live setting. Some of those things were pretty tricky, but it was really great playing songs like for the first time, like Burning Question was just the perfect example, really, because that was a song we never played ever.
Mhm.
And playing that live in front of people for the first time was pretty cool because it was like a whole brand new song. It was like this,
Right.
it might as well have been a brand new song we'd just written, sort of. People were singing along to it. It's a super deep cut, and people were just totally stoked that we played it live, and they were singing all the words, and it was bizarre to see that, and then kind of a goosebump moment for us, because we played like Rain of Fire and Tribal Dance, Symbol of Salvation. We have played those songs quite a lot throughout our whole career, but pulling out like Burning Question and just seeing the reaction to that was just amazing. It was just great.
Awesome. Are there any
Yeah.
songs that, based on the reaction that you got from the crowd, where now you kind of have to scratch your head and say, you know what, we need to fit this one in our regular set list?
Well, Burning Question might be one of them. I mean, it was just so fun to play, a breath of fresh air, really. Hanging Judge was fun too. Warzone was always fun. We would play that once in a while throughout the career, but not a lot. Tainted Past is great. People really seem to like the sort of the moodiness of that one. So we could pull a lot of these out. Really, they'd all be fun. Really,
Cool.
yeah.
What made the Gramercy Show special? Did you guys know going in, okay, that's where we're gonna get this live album from? I know John alluded to the fact that a few shows were recorded. Was the plan from the get-go to mainly use the Gramercy Show, or did you guys wait to see which of the shows turned out the best?
It was pretty much in the cards that we had to do that one, and it was mostly out of practicalness and also, affordability. We didn't have the budget to bring 5 camera crew to multiple shows. So what we did though, so New York was going to be the one. We had a few shows prior to that to kind of work out a few bugs. We played Poughkeepsie, and I believe we played just outside Philly. Is that right? And New York was the third show, so we it was a little risky just going in that early on, but we had already done a few to get worked out some bugs, and that was the main show. We knew that was going to be the bulk of it. We did bring the director, Vince Edwards, who also works with Metal Blade, and he traveled with us on several shows. But so he did shoot some kind of like off-camera stuff, like not off-camera, but I mean off. He did shot some off-stage stuff and some kind of cutaway stuff from other shows to use as kind of I don't know, emergency stuff or just to have extra footage. And so he did shoot some stuff from other shows that we did end up using here and there. And then the audio part of it, we also recorded several nights of that, and that was really mostly used as a safety net in case something horribly went wrong in New York. But nothing horribly went wrong, so we were able to basically use all the audio from the New York show. But we did have other shows recorded audio-wise from other shows, just in case. And there is also some footage that we ended up using from one of the European shows, in particular in Germany. Um, and that was also used kind of as cutaway stuff, additional to what we had for from the Gramercy. But in a long-winded answer, we did have the intention was to use the New York show. We knew that the venue was probably one of the best on the run. So we knew that the stage would be a good size. We knew it would be a great crowd because New York has always been great to us. And we knew that the production, the lighting, and all that stuff was going to be adequate, and so that was the reason. And also, it just made sense for the 5 camera crew to be there. Also, they were East Coast based, so all those things kind of lined up, and that just made sense to do the New York show.
Gotcha.
Yep.
You guys also did the live stream last year after Punching the Sky came out. A lot of fans have used their live stream footage to put out DVDs or digital or even physical releases. Has that even crossed the band's mind to use that in the future as a release, even maybe as an EP to, prep for an upcoming tour or something like that?
Yeah, we have it in the can for a purpose like that. The label has discussed with us some possibilities of doing something with it in the future, but it hasn't really been gone beyond that. We haven't taken it very seriously yet. I mean, it's a live performance, and it was fun, and it's unique because of the fact that it was during the COVID shutdown. We played in front of an empty club. So those things are unique to it. And a lot of fans have already inquired about that. Is that going to come out? We'd love to see it again. I'd like to be, if it's available, I'd like it, So there's certainly some demand for it. And we're aware of that, and the label's aware of that. But we just haven't really put it on any schedule yet. But it's there.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was cool. We liked it. It was fun. And, I think fans would appreciate it at some point in the future.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, let's be honest. Most of the people that checked it out were probably diehards to begin with. And your diehard audience is going to pick up essentially anything you put out. So, I mean,
exactly. It's for them, for sure.
Yeah. There's also been talk over the last few years of a documentary on Armored Saint. Can you give us a status update on that?
Well, the story is that he's a friend of ours who's a film professor in the UK, and he's been a longtime friend of mine and the band's for a long time, and so he came to us with the idea of making a movie. So this is his baby, and he's basically put it all together. We did do interviews with him for it. He also interviewed tons of people in the industry. There's a trailer on YouTube for it, people can see. But as far as I know, the status for it is that I believe that he is done with the editing, and now he's finalizing sort of like the audio and the final kind of things, end credits and any further. I don't know, he might be doing some animation things or something. And so it's very much close to being done, but I don't know exactly what his intentions are just yet with as when people are going to be able to see it. So I believe that he's trying to get it into some film festivals by the end of this year, and also in the spring of 22. And I believe that those two things are the precursor to when something could actually become available, whether it be via whatever, a Metal Blade, or even a streaming service, such as whatever, Amazon or Netflix or something like that. So we're still kind of waiting to find out what the actual status of a real release is. So that's as far as I know.
Okay. While interviewing John the other day, he mentioned that that your masters were coming back to you guys after 35 years, the Chrysalis masters. With all of the stuff that's been mentioned these last few years about streaming and YouTube and all this stuff about bands not getting a fair shake for the money that they're making off of these platforms, does having your masters back give you guys leverage to get a favorable deal from all of these platforms so that you guys get what you feel is your just due for your material?
Well, without going too far into our, our business details, let's say, that's partially true, but partially not true.
Okay.
We didn't actually get our we actually didn't get our masters back per se.
Okay.
But what we did get was the rights to use them again.
Okay.
With how we choose. Also, we did get to renegotiate our deal. So our deal is completely updated and upgraded to sort of it's better for us, let's just say, for the new platforms, because when we signed the deal back in 1984 or whatever, there was no such thing even then as CDs. So you have all these new formats that have been available since then, CD duplication being the first one, and then the next one being streaming services, obviously. So we've updated all those terms to benefit us. So to answer your question, yes, it's going to be much better for us now. We've also gotten the rights to reissue the first 3 records, the Chrysalis records. So we're currently in talks with Metal Blade about getting those out in 22. The band's celebrating its 40-year anniversary next year in 22. So part of that celebration, we're trying to get, I don't know if it's going to be possible or not, but we're trying to at least get those first 3 records out all next year in 22. Some of these releases haven't been available in quite a long time, and some of them never been available since on LP or vinyl since the first one was released in the 80s. So we're pretty stoked about getting all those 3 records out. We're trying to get new packaging updated and have some extra things in it that weren't available before. And all those things are also currently up now on all the digital streaming services. So you should be able to see Raising Fear, Delirious Nomad, March of the Saint. Those 3 records should be available now. For the last couple of years, they've been kind of in limbo, but they should be available now, which is great for us. So, those things are all very positive and great.
Cool. When I switched over to Apple Music, I guess about a year, maybe 2 years ago, I had to upload my versions of those songs because they weren't available. So they chose covers that I have no idea what covers they are. So now I can actually go back in and have the official covers and everything else on those.
Should be
cool.
Exactly. They should all be there now.
Awesome.
And Spotify. We weren't even on Spotify for years. This is terrible, but it's all there now.
But that's one of those things where that's kind of beyond your control. It isn't because the band didn't want it there. It's just it
was a legal thing, and it just went in limbo. And it just we're self-managed. For all intents and purposes. I kind of act as the band's manager in a lot of ways, just because we don't have a manager,
Right.
So a lot of these things fall on us to deal with on our own. And so it takes a little longer to get stuff done, but we got it done.
Yeah, but at the same time, I would think that, again, you're looking out for the band's best interest and your best interest, as opposed to maybe having someone else who's dealing with 20 bands and you're kind of in the mix. I mean, I'm sure you guys have dealt with that in the past. And obviously there's a difference with having a personal approach to something as a part of just being another number who, you know, is kind of in a pecking order to have stuff done for them. So
yeah, you know, we've been pretty lucky to be surround ourselves with business wise with a lot of great people. Our record label being first and foremost the biggest sort of asset to us. You know, Metal Blade's always supported us throughout the years, and they've also given us a lot of freedom to kind of work in the way that we choose to work. And not a lot of bands can say that. So that's been really great for us. Our booking agency, we're with TKO booking agency, and our agent has been also a great asset for us. You know, so between those three entities, ourselves, our label, and our booking agency, we've been able to kind of carve out this sort of, you know, unique way of working, and it's been great for us. You know, it allows us a lot of freedom, but it also has been beneficial for us too in a lot of ways. So we're very grateful to have that kind of circle.
yeah, and I think from speaking to you and John all these years, you guys are very realistic about who Armored Saint is. Even talking to Phil behind the scenes on Facebook and stuff like that. You know, it doesn't seem when you guys are interviewed, it is, no, we're just waiting for the next huge stadium tour to come along, or we're not, you know, there are a lot of bands that maybe have been around as long as you guys have, that either had the same amount of success or even more success, and they're still waiting for that next big wave to come along. And you guys are kind of comfortable as to who Armored Saint is, and you guys kind of work within your parameters, you know, without maybe going too far with it, you know, where other bands are looking to, hey, you know, we still need X management, we need X promotion, we need, you know, so you end up wasting all of this money behind the scenes on things that may not get you any further than where you currently are, is kind of what I'm getting at. By being realistic with what's going on and being able to be economically smart, I guess is what I'm getting at, I think has probably also helped you guys, you know, long term.
Yeah, sure. You know, one thing that when we kind of came back together in 1999, this is after our absence when John left to join Anthrax. And so when we kind of reconvened for the first time in 10 years or whatever in 99 to make Revelation, we kind of had a handshake deal with each other. And we said, look, you know, let's just do this because we love it and because we have fun with it. And we take great pride in what we do, but let's just not put so much pressure on this so that it's a be all end all, you know. That's just going to ruin us if we go back to that place mentally. So we've tried to maintain that, you know. Obviously we have, you know, high hopes for things sometimes. You know, we want the world to hear our music and the new music we're making, and we want to tour, and we want to be on good tours. You know, we'd rather play larger venues in front of a lot of people than playing, you know, really dumpy small clubs in front of nobody, you know. So that, I mean, that's just nature, you know. But, you know, I don't think we're willing to do whatever it takes to get there. So, you know, I think that we have to strike a balance as to, you know, enjoying ourselves, having a good time, and doing the work per se, because it's still work at the end of the day a lot of times. But also, you know, like, let's not kill ourselves doing it, you know. Let's just try to enjoy the ride and be grateful for what we have, and grateful for the fans that are willing to come along for the ride, and enjoy it. Stop and smell the roses, you know, seize the day kind of stuff, and have fun with it.
Gotcha.
It's not always easy. I mean, I'm not saying it's like the easiest thing ever, but you know, we always try to remind ourselves, like, hey, you know, things are all right.
Well, I remember reading interviews with, like, one of your bandmates from one of your other bands, Scott Ian, talking about how in hindsight, they should have never pushed for going out on tour with a huge stage or with certain props or with certain things, which in the end cost a ton of money to take around, to set up, to, so on and so forth. So they kind of exceeded what they should have done. Whereas, that's kind of what I'm getting at, where you guys, everything that you're saying, you guys aren't looking to have, Gonzo propped up like Peter Criss on a riser during Rain of Fire, or you're not looking to have, a million things of pyro go off during the song, or no, imaginary water tower for you to climb up during the last so, stuff like that.
Right. We'll save all that stuff for the videos.
There you go. A few weeks ago, you guys posted a really cool combo of a cassette and a baseball tee. And I made a comment on Facebook about shipping costs. And this is kind of similar to Spotify and you guys not being on Spotify, not because you didn't want to be there, but the shipping thing I was coming at it kind of the same angle. I know that the band isn't trying to screw anyone with shipping costs or anything like that. The band is obviously trying to do the best that they can to get all the cool stuff that you guys are putting out there. I'm not saying this per se about you guys, but I know that there are a lot of bands that are detached from that side of things. So they're not aware of the fact that, to get a t-shirt there are, well, for example, today Blabbermouth put up a t-shirt that they're selling to benefit roadies and stuff like that. And I wanted to order the t-shirt. T-shirt was $20. Shipping was $25.
Wow.
So, stuff like that makes it very prohibitive where, if you're paying more for shipping for an item than you are the actual item, it's a huge turnoff. Again, I realize that that's not, I didn't say it to be a dick in any way, sense, or form. It was just one of these things to say, hey, if you guys aren't aware of this, this is what's kind of taking place. And it sucks because I compared what it was to ship from the States, to ship from the UK, to ship from Europe. And I do have to correct something that I posted, because apparently as of July 1st, anything that comes from the States or UK into Europe, as long as it's less than $175, there are no customs fees. So, again, just trying to go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, no, these things a lot of times are way out of our hands. We don't, we're not able to micromanage every detail about things like this. This thing in particular was way outside of our kind of our wheelhouse, because this wasn't even through Metal Blade. This was sub-licensed to a third party.
Oh wow!
And so to be honest with you, we didn't even get the chance to approve the artwork for it.
Oh wow!
The first time I even saw this was, I heard about that someone was doing this, and I thought it was a cool idea to release cassettes, because there's a weird small market for cassette collectors.
Right.
I'm all about the old school stuff, so that I thought it was great. I said, that's cool. But I didn't know when it was coming out. I didn't see any artwork for it. Nothing came my way for any of that, which is fine. But this is one of those things that maybe I would have been able to have some input on, like, where is this being released? How many are being issued? I think it's a very small run anyway, from what I gather. But, I don't even know if this was even available outside of the U.S. I don't think it was, actually. I think it was strictly a U.S. manufacture and ship. So it wasn't even available, through Metal Blade's store in the UK or at EMP in Germany. But all those things, even in the best case scenario, if like we have an official release with Metal Blade, let's say, how does someone in South America gonna get it? how is someone in Australia going to get it, or even Southeast Asia? You know, it's really difficult to provide, you know, those kind of first class services to every single person on the planet.
Right.
Obviously, you know, America has it easiest, you know, shipping from Amazon or something. But how does, you know, in Canada, it's a little different. In Mexico, it's a little different. In the UK, you can probably get something out of the UK.
Mm-hmm.
But then outside of the UK, then you have extra, as we're talking, you know, there's extra shipping that has to happen going into the European countries. So it's just a very difficult thing, especially for a band member or somebody in the group to micromanage all of those things. You kind of just hope that like people in the distribution centers and in the labels are doing those sort of things for you.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time they're everything's fine and right, but a lot of times there, you know, there's somebody that's just going to be like, that lives just so far outside of the distribution areas that it's going to affect them and they're going to be pissed off. It's hard to make all those people happy, you know, but we try.
Yeah, believe me, shipping is, you mentioned EMP. I've been arguing with EMP about having to ship something back to them this week. I get free shipping to me, but I got to pay to ship something back. So my dumb mistake, I got giddy. I pre-ordered the live album and Blu-ray, and I ordered something else that I didn't realize that I had ordered a month previous. But since everything is on pre-order, you know, once I got 2 copies of something that showed up, I just had to do that stuff. And the other thing here in Europe that's just crazy to me is they don't, shipping to your house costs more than picking it up at like a UPS center. So I had somebody tell me, well, if you drive to a UPS center, you could pick it up for free. And it's like, okay, but I got to drive half an hour. I got to pay for parking, you know, gas, so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, you know, I'm paying almost the same thing. But
yeah, it's tough, you know, especially now. I don't know about in Europe, but the delivery services here took a hit, like so many other industries because of COVID. So it's just a tough thing.
Yeah, it's nowhere near the same. You know, I was used to living in the States. If you ordered something, it more or less got there around the date of release, or maybe, you know, a day before, a day after. Here, you're lucky to get it a week after it's come out. So
yeah. It's all weird.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a few questions here for you from people that submitted them, and while we've been talking, there have been people in the chat that have been sending in questions as well. The first question that I have here is from a patron. His name is Mike Jones. Not the Mike Jones that John Bush knows from Boston.
Okay, I was going to say, all right, go ahead.
He asked, which of your favorite or which of the bands that you play with live is your favorite, and what is kind of your favorite aspect of playing with each one of them?
Ooh, well, as maybe a lot of people know by watching me play live, I enjoy playing live no matter where I'm playing. I really do, for different reasons. I mean, I love performing with Armored Saint. Armored Saint is, you know, it's all of our first groups. So there's a part of it, you know, there's a long history there, and it's a special place, obviously, in all of our hearts. So performing with Armored Saint is, you know, emotionally tied to our past. So it's always a special thing performing with Armored Saint. Playing with Fate's Warning, which I've been in that band for over 20 years, which is pretty crazy, but you know, that's a whole different thing. I love playing with Fates. The material is, you know, more challenging for me to play than anything else probably that I do. So I enjoy playing with those guys in this arena of, you know, playing music that's very sort of challenging to play and pulling it off together with other guys, communicating on that level of a musicianship where you're, not having to speak words, but you're playing the music together, is a pretty gratifying thing. And it's something I get that I don't get anywhere else, except for with Fate's Warning. So, and it's, you know, aside from that, we're great friends off stage as well. So there's another great connection there that's just different. So again, love playing with Fate's Warning for those reasons. And then also the same could be true for a band like Motor Sister. We haven't done a whole lot of shows together, but performing with these guys is a whole nother level of fun, if you will, because it's really that. It's just fun. It's fun music, and it's reflected on all of our love for the music that we all grew up on, which is kind of mostly steeped in the 70s. So a chance to really bring all that to the live stage is a blast. Again, it's something that's relatively easy for us because of those reasons, because it's so fun and the music's just fun to play. It's really high energy. Again, another great group of friends. You know, I have to say, like, I'm so lucky to be in 3 bands where I'm really great friends with all those members. You know, it's like we're talking like 15 people there or something, you know, and that's something that's rare, and I don't take that for granted. It's a great thing to be involved with people that you actually love. So it's a great fun playing with Motor Sister live. It's just get out there, get sweaty, have a blast, be a rocker. It's just awesome. So a lot of different reasons for, you know, different things for different groups. It's all, I wear different hats, but they're all the same hat too. So
very cool. Okay.
yeah.
This question comes from Brad in the chat. He asks, what is it like making a set list for an Armored Saint show? Who has the most power in getting a song on the list? Is there a song you guys have to play?
Yeah, I mean, we sort of work by committee mostly. So, you know, we try to be like John Bush has probably he's like the one who's really the stickler with, I would say, mostly out of anybody about what the set list is going to be. We all have input and we all kind of bat ideas back and forth. But, you know, John always tries to showcase at least a couple of songs from each single release so that there's some variety of our whole catalog, you know.
Right.
We don't always get to do that just by time constraints, especially nowadays, because now we have more records out now than we obviously never did. We have 8 albums, studio albums to choose from. So it gets harder to do that. But, you know, so we kind of bat around ideas like that. And it can be challenging because the challenge for us is to try to keep it interesting and fun. You know, we do get, I have to admit, and I think I speak for everybody, we get kind of bored with playing the same songs over and over, that songs that we think people want to need to hear. So we try to challenge ourselves and the audience with, you know, throwing in, you know, not the A cuts, but the B cuts and the C cuts, and sometimes the deeper cuts, you know. Keeps it interesting and fresh for us, and hopefully it keeps it interesting and fresh for the audience. You're always going to dissatisfy somebody, though. You know, why didn't you play this? Why didn't you play that? You know, so right. It's impossible to make everybody happy. And what's the song that we absolutely have to play? I would say it has to be "Can You Deliver," and it was our first single ever from back in 1984, and I'm not sure why that is, but it just seems to be the most popular song still to this day. So that's probably the one song that we just could not go on stage and not playing, or having to play, I should say. So that would be the song that we probably absolutely have to play no matter what. And, you know, at this point, like, we could play it in our sleep backwards, probably.
Cool.
That might sound interesting, actually, playing it backwards.
Playing it back. See, there you go.
Thank you. Note to self. All right.
New twist
backwards
to make the song interesting after all these years.
Yeah.
Last question here.
Okay.
It is, I don't know who it's from. It just says Facebook user. I've been searching for Delirious Nomad for my CD collection forever. So you talked about being able to do some stuff with the Chrysalis albums. You're currently talking to Metal Blade. You said, theoretically, is there discussion for vinyl, CD, digital? Is there anything you can share about that?
Well, like I said, we are in talks with Metal Blade about reissuing the first 3 records. The focus right now is to get them on vinyl.
Okay.
Because there's such a long lead time right now with vinyl. It's insane. A lot of it's because of COVID, but the other reason is there was a couple of big manufacturers that either went out of business or had damage from fires, believe it or not. So there's only a few companies that are actually doing the manufacturing. So, and now, as maybe a lot of people are aware, there's been this really big upswing in demand for vinyl over the past 24 months. So it's crazy. There's like it used to be like a 3 or 4 month lead time. Now it's a 9-month lead time if you're lucky. So we're right now trying to get the vinyl stuff sorted out so that it comes out sometime in 22. The CD manufacturing is much quicker than that. So I don't quote me on saying that this is also coming out on CD, but the intention is for us to also have it also come out on CD as well as vinyl. So yes, hopefully all 3 releases of our Chrysalis years should be out on CD and vinyl and digital. It's already available digitally, I believe. But the physical product of it should be out next year in 22.
Okay. There's actually another reason. Oh, it just cut out. Wow. All right. So Joey had 45 minutes where he could talk. We kind of went a little over, about 50 minutes. Not sure what took place there. Maybe his connection dropped out, but he did say he had to leave. So it is what it is. It was great. Oh, he's back. All right. Let's see.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
That was a hard 45. I said, wow, he wasn't kidding when he said 45.
Yeah, I'll see you later. All right, bye. No, I'm on my phone, so I have limited kind of Wi-Fi out here, but
right.
Hopefully it worked. But yeah, I do have to scoot. But thank you very much for having me, and it's been a blast as always. Great conversation again, and yeah,
awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate your time as always, and thanks. You know, like I said, you've been on the show 5 or 6 times over the years, and it's always been great. So
awesome. Well, glad to be back, and thanks again for the chat, and thank you everyone for watching, and the questions has been great. So have a good one. We'll hope to see you in 22.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
All right. Have a good one.
All right. You too.
All righty.
There we go. So Joey Vera. The other thing that that wasn't touched upon that we did talk about Todd from Ripple Music I guess 2 months ago at this point, with the vinyl shortage. There's actually a shortage in the actual supplies to make vinyl. And this actually comes from the whole jam up in the Suez Canal a few months ago. Apparently, a lot of the supplies that are needed to actually make vinyl in these facilities, they haven't gotten to the plants on time. So if you want to find out more, I do recommend you checking out the interview with Todd from Ripple Music. That was, I don't know, about 10 episodes ago, but he gives us the whole, 411 on that whole situation, which is very cool. You guys that have followed the show all these years, if you listen to today's interview that I released with John Bush, it's 12-year anniversary of the show as of this past weekend. I never bullshit you guys. I always say what I mean to say. And recently I've been lucky that I can pick and choose who I do interview. If you are even remotely a fan of Armored Saint, check this upcoming live album out. If I'm not mistaken, it drops on October 22nd. Listening to it, I mentioned this to Joey, I mentioned this to John. There were goosebumps throughout and a lot of like moments where I was like, wow, I forgot how great this song was. And there is an energy, there is a definite feel to the release that that a lot of recent live albums just don't have. I don't want to name bands, but you listen to the live stuff and it just doesn't have that feel of live albums that we grew up listening to, where even to today you can listen to a Strangers in the Night, or you could listen to an Alive 1 or 2, or Queen Live Killers or stuff like that, where it just gives you a certain feeling to it. To me, and I'm not being biased, I'm not being a homer in any extent, listening to this, watching it, it gave me that feeling as well. So, and I'm not going to say it has to compare to Alive 2, to any of these albums, but it definitely has one of those. There's energy to it. There's, something to it. And these songs are all special. So that makes it also a great part of the package here. Guys, I thank you once again for tuning in today. Obviously there's a million things you guys can be doing, so I'm extremely grateful that you decided to spend some time with me today, whether you're watching this live, whether you're watching the replay, or whether you're listening to the podcast. Remember that the live stream usually takes place Fridays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. in the UK. If you're in Europe like myself, it is midnight Friday going into Saturday. And we just found out for those in Australia, it is 8 a.m. if you're in Melbourne. So there's that. This week we have Ryan J. Downey coming up. Check out his podcast, Speak and Destroy. It is a Metallica-based podcast where he talks to a lot of really interesting people about Metallica. So that is it. We will see you. Today's Wednesday. We will see you in 2 days with Ryan. And again, if you haven't checked out the interview with John Bush, check it out. It will be worth your while. It is awesome. It is always fun to talk to John or Joey, either one of them. They've been on the show easily within, I think, if not 1, 2, or 3, they're within the top 3 of guests that have been on the most, and they're among my favorite people to talk to. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed this. Thanks once again, and we will see you next time right here on the Signals from Mars live stream, brought to you by the Mars Attacks podcast and by VMR IT Web Design. See ya. And as usual, I should load up my video before saying that. Really, this time. See ya.